And that's when I decided that I hate this dude. You know, if you want to finesse the system, suck up to the bosses, jerk off all day in other departments, and gossip like a teenage girl, fine. But give me my goddamn credit. So I worked a few jobs before I became a YouTuber, and to be honest, a part of me kinda misses it. Because once you're out of school, the workplace is the last place where you don't have to try to make friends. You know, like at school and at work, making friends just kinda happens. When you're forced to be around the same people on a regular basis, it's only a matter of time before you start finding things in common. I mean, how many best friends and relationships have been the result of just being randomly placed in the same room as somebody else because of a class or a job? But not everyone you meet at work is cool, right? For every chill, funny, likable person you meet at work, there's gonna be someone else that just knows how to get under your skin. Well, today, I'm gonna be telling you a story about a coworker who I really grew to dislike. So, a lot of you know that technically my first real job was working for McDonald's back in Broward, Florida, my junior year of high school. But it didn't take me more than a couple months to get fired, so I don't really count as my first real job. To me, my first real job was when I worked for Dick's Sporting Goods. Shortly after moving to California, right after I graduated high school, I realized that I needed a job. And I had just started dating a girl whose big sister was an assistant manager at the Dick's Sporting Goods. So my girl pulls some strings, and within a couple of weeks of applying, I get the job. So I show up for my first day of work, I meet a store manager, cool dude, he gives me the rundown, and then he shows me around the team sports department, which was the department that I was gonna be working in. And that's when I met Mark, the supervisor of the team sports department. And Mark was a kind of person I had never met before. He was like a TV character, you know? Like his personality was like a guy straight out of a sitcom. Also, didn't help, he looked just like Jonah Hill, bro, I swear. Anyway, I liked Mark when I met him, personally. I thought he was an interesting character. You know, he was always decked out in the freshest Nike gear, he was very charismatic, and he knew everything about baseball, which I knew nothing about. And since baseball was our top selling product, I found myself constantly asking him questions, and he was always very nice and patient with me, so I was rocking with him. One day, I walked to the back of the store, you know, the behind the scenes part. I went to the back to print some signs for some products when I saw Mark chilling in one of the little office rooms with this other employee. I overheard their conversation, and I realized that Mark was sneak dissing one of the other employees. He wasn't saying anything nice, you feel me? Which happens at work. But what I didn't like is that I've seen Mark being really chummy with the person he was talking about. AKA, to me, it seemed like he was being fake to that person, which right away I didn't like. Because I don't like fake people, even if it's not directly to me. Because if I see you being fake to someone else, how am I gonna know if you're being real with me? You could be the most rude, offensive, insensitive person. I'd rather hang out with that guy because at least I know he's honest. But if I think you might be fake, I'ma keep my distance. So I started to do that. But I still liked Mark as a coworker. I just knew right then and there that we were never gonna hang out outside of work. But that's fine, as long as he continued to do his job and continue to be a reliable supervisor. Well, then you know, who and what he chooses to talk about with other people, well, that's not my business. So, I wanted to be a great employee. That's just who I am, right? I'm competitive, and anything I do, I try to do really well. So anything that was asked of me, I tried to do at a high level and with a great attitude. And I don't think it took long for Mark to recognize that. Because in a matter of days of working there, Mark had me running around the store doing everything, right? Cleaning the bathroom, moving heavy equipment, organizing the back room, fixing apparel, any and everything. And at the time, I didn't think anything was wrong with it. You know, I was a new guy. I had to earn my stripes and I was getting paid by the hour. So I did what Mark told me to do. But the longer I worked there, the more I started to notice that Mark wasn't around his department very much. He spent a lot of time in the back office, chopping it up with the store manager. That, or he was in the golf department playing on the golf simulator. And after a while, I realized that this dude was just offloading all his work onto his subordinates. Eventually, other employees started to let me know that this is just what he does. So one night, I'm closing the store after a very busy day, and my department was in shambles, right? And when you're closing, you're supposed to leave it looking close to perfect for when the store opens in the morning. But that day, Mark had the midday shift. But because he was busy jerking off in the other departments, he ain't helped me clean. And because he wasn't there, I had to do all the customer service. So no one was cleaning the department. So when he clocks out some hours before me, I'm the one stuck cleaning the entire department that has been a mess for the whole day. But I accepted the challenge. I was literally running around the department, cleaning as fast as I could. I did all the go backs, I tidied up the storage room. I went off, okay? And by the time I clocked out, my department looked amazing. Fast forward to the next day, and both Mark and I are opening, and the store manager was giving us the rundown from the previous day. And apparently, my department made a ton of money, right? Way over projection. So of course, he's complimenting Mark on doing a great job and still managing to keep the department clean so that I had a easy close. So now I'm standing there thinking, this dude ain't do jack. You better give me some credit. I made those sales. I cleaned the department. I better get some recognition. But Mark just took all the praise. Didn't show me any type of love for carrying the team like LeBron in the fourth. And that's when I decided that I hate this dude. You know, if you want to finesse the system, suck up to the bosses, jerk off all day in other departments, and gossip like a teenage girl, fine. But give me my goddamn credit. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna take a page out of Mark's book, and I'm gonna start big chilling. Cause I get paid the same regardless, and if I can't get my pat on the back at least, I'm gonna take a sat in the back and play on my phone. But here's the funny thing about that. When I stopped working as hard, my life got harder. Because you may not get credit when you make everything go right, but when things go wrong, best believe everybody's pointing their finger at you. And I try not to be the blame other people, point fingers kind of guy, so I wasn't about to start complaining to the store manager about Mark, especially since I knew that Mark had spent the last year greasing this dude up. So after I realized that not working hard on the clock wasn't getting me the sense of justice that I wanted, I went back to working hard, but this time for me. You know, I didn't care if I wasn't gonna get the credit. I still wanted it, but if I didn't get it, whatever. Mark continued being Mark, and that's how things went for a while. And I thought that's how things were gonna stay. But one day, I hear that Mark is putting in his 2 weeks. Apparently, he thought he was gonna get some promotion, but turns out that upper management saw that Mark was a poser and gave the position to someone else. I guess he didn't like that. So eventually, he leaves, leaving his job up for grabs. And guess who gets promoted to being the new department supervisor? This other guy, who was there longer than me, but yeah, he was a good worker, so fine. But then he left like a few months later, and then I became the department supervisor. And right before I quit, I was getting interviewed for that same promotion Mark wanted. So moral of the story, if you ever have the displeasure of working with someone who doesn't pull their own weight, or you feel like you're not getting credit for your work, just because they aren't telling you doesn't mean they don't see it. And as long as you work hard for working hard's sake, underperformers will get exposed, and one way or another, you will eventually rise to the top.
Ice life, why do I waste my time? Girl, I know I'm not your type, but you see something you like. Bands, chains, baby, I don't need to know. Fast pace, that's how I'm living my life, yeah. Baby, you good for the night, yeah. I got her up on her toes. She said the